6 boundaries men must set early or she'll walk all over you. Psychology tricks. If you've ever noticed a shift in the way a woman treats you, where respect seems to fade, but you can't pinpoint when it happened, this message is for you. The hard truth is this: women don't just lose respect for men by accident. It typically happens because a man failed to set the right boundaries early on. In the early stages of dating, there are 6 key boundaries that determine whether she'll view you as a man she respects or as someone she begins to take for granted. Miss even one of these, and you could find yourself in a cycle of overgiving, confusion, and frustration, wondering how things shifted. This isn't about being harsh or playing games, nor is it about controlling the woman in your life. It's about understanding the critical moments where men unintentionally give away their power and how to stop doing that before attraction turns into mere tolerance. If you don't establish these boundaries early, you risk not only losing her respect, but losing your own sense of self as you struggle to regain it. Most dating advice focuses on how men should react to situations. This approach teaches you how to take charge of your own life and dating dynamic from the start, so you don't have to react at all. The difference isn't about being more charismatic or more confident. It's about having a clear structure. Boundaries create that structure, and that structure dictates who leads in the relationship and who adapts. When you begin to understand these dynamics, you stop chasing outcomes and start controlling your own position. This process starts with setting the first boundary, which is often the one most men overlook. Let's break it down. Number 1. Never open financial access before she's earned it. Too many men make the mistake of confusing financial transparency with bonding. You might think sharing your money situation is just another way to connect, but it's not. To her, it's not an intimate conversation, it's raw data. The moment you casually mention your salary, your investments, or the trips you plan to take, something irreversible happens. You stop being the man she's discovering and start becoming the man she's measuring. And let me tell you, once you're on that stage, you're not being evaluated emotionally, you're being evaluated practically. You've unknowingly started the provider audition, where you're auditioning for a role that hasn't been offered to you yet. She hasn't chosen you. She hasn't committed to you. She hasn't invested in you. But now you're already proving your worth, and the worst part? You don't even see it happening. You mention your income casually, joke about a bonus, or talk about how much you've saved this year. You think you're just making conversation. But to her, it's not about what you've done or what you've saved. It's about what you can provide, what you can offer, and whether you are a secure investment. Here's the reality. Once she starts assessing your wallet, the emotional attraction fades away. What was once curiosity turns into calculation. What was once playful tension becomes expectation. And no, she doesn't even need to ask you for money to make this shift happen. All it takes is for her to see how eager you are to share that financial information, to show how much you can provide, and how quickly you try to prove your worth through your bank balance. Men fall into this trap because they've been taught that providing equals value, that security equals desirability. But here's the kicker. Early provision doesn't attract, it replaces attraction. Instead of being the man she's interested in, you become the man she's evaluating. She's no longer feeling desire. She's calculating what she can get from you. This boundary is critical right from the start. Once the dynamic shifts and she starts evaluating you based on your wallet, you're no longer in the driver's seat. You can't charm your way out of it. You can't talk your way back to mystery. The moment your financial life is on display, attraction stops being emotional and becomes transactional. When you step in too early to solve her financial problems, something crucial happens. You lose your chance at being her partner and become her support system. This is the role downgrade that many men never see coming. When you offer to take care of her before there's any real commitment, you silently volunteer for responsibility that comes without the authority to make decisions. You give provision, but without position, and that shift? It's not in your favor. You might think you're helping, but you're actually giving her something that diminishes your appeal. It's a subtle psychology trick that most men miss because they confuse generosity with leadership. Generosity is not leadership, and rushing to the rescue doesn't prove your value. It shows her you're predictable. And you know what happens to predictable men? They get placed into utility roles. Men are not tools to be used. They're leaders who should set the tone for a relationship. This is why boundaries are so important. The right boundary doesn't require speeches or explanations. You don't need to justify yourself, you don't need to apologize, and you certainly don't need to feel guilty. You need to stay calm, grounded, and assertive. Close that door without slamming it. Be supportive but firm. There's no need to offer anything, no need to apologize for your position, and no need to entangle yourself in a financial game that isn't yours to play. Remember, female psychology works in ways that men often don't fully grasp. It's not about what you do for her, it's about how she perceives your actions. You're setting the stage early in the relationship, and the boundaries you set will shape how she views you and how she ultimately falls in love with you. Once you let her see that you're a constant provider without asking for anything in return, it shifts from mutual attraction to a one-sided exchange, and that's never where you want to be. The key psychology trick here is to maintain a sense of mystery and allow her to fall in love with you for who you are, not just what you can offer. If you let her see everything too soon, the intrigue is gone and the romance fades. So, don't give her the opportunity to evaluate you based on your wallet. Don't let her think that you're offering financial support because you believe that will create attraction. Be the man who sets boundaries, who shows up with confidence, and who values emotional connection over financial displays. You must protect your value, and once you do, you'll discover that a real, lasting attraction comes not from your ability to provide, but from the connection you build with her. That is the foundation of a healthy, successful relationship. And remember, the most powerful psychology tricks aren't about giving her everything up front. They're about allowing her to earn your trust and earn the right to know the full, real you. Number 2, never tolerate disrespect, especially when it's subtle. Men often miss the subtle signs of disrespect because they expect it to come in loud, dramatic forms, raised voices, insults, open hostility. But in reality, disrespect doesn't always announce itself. It sneaks in, quietly testing the waters, waiting for you to let your guard down. It shows up when she interrupts you mid-sentence and continues talking like it's no big deal. It's the passive joke at your expense followed by a "relax, I'm just teasing." It's the casual comparison to her ex. And don't forget when she leaves your messages hanging for hours, but expects you to be on your phone instantly when she needs something. None of these moments feel big enough to address, and that's exactly why they work. From a psychological perspective, this isn't cruelty, it's evaluation. She's asking one simple question: can I get away with this? Women, much like water, test boundaries in the same way, slowly, subtly, one small push at a time. If you don't push back, the pressure increases. Over time, that little push turns into something much bigger. Let me set the scene with something you've probably experienced. You're out with her and some friends. Everyone's having a good time, laughing, talking. Then, someone casually asks how things are going between you two. She smiles, almost too sweetly, and says something like, "Oh, he's fine." Maybe she adds a joke about you being clueless. Her friends laugh, she laughs, and you smile, thinking it's no big deal. You tell yourself she didn't mean it like that. But deep down, you know something just shifted. She lowered your status in front of others. She made you the punchline, and more importantly, she watched what you did next. The test isn't about the joke, it's about how you react. If you let it slide, you're not being easygoing or calm. No, what you're really signaling is that your self-respect is negotiable, that keeping the peace matters more to you than maintaining your boundaries. And here's the thing: once a woman sees she can step over you without facing consequences, she will. It's not because she's malicious, she just knows you didn't set a boundary. She didn't see you defend your space, your identity, your value. That is why she'll keep testing you. That is why, over time, you'll start to feel your attraction fading. It's common for men to believe that staying quiet makes them look calm, collected, and unbothered. But in reality, silence in the face of disrespect isn't composure, it's consent. And that's the mistake. When you stay silent, you're not freezing the moment. No, you're setting a dangerous precedent, one that will compound over time. A small pass here, a slight overstep there, soon enough. The dynamic shifts. The balance of power tips. And before you know it, fixing things feels impossible. Here's the chain reaction most men never anticipate. When she disrespects you in public and you don't address it, her friends start noticing. They don't see you as easygoing. They see you as someone who doesn't stand up for himself. And once her friend's perception changes, hers does too. She now sees you as someone she can dismiss, both in private and public. The dynamic changes slowly at first, but then it accelerates. Attraction begins to erode, not instantly, but steadily, permanently. Here's where high-value men separate themselves from the pack. High-value men don't respond to disrespect with sarcasm, explosions, or passive-aggressive remarks. They don't try to get even or turn it into some drama-filled argument. They respond immediately, calmly, and directly. A simple, clear statement, no edge, no explanation, and certainly no emotional charge, just a line drawn in the sand. This kind of response does something powerful. It resets the frame. It shows her and anyone else who's watching that you respect yourself enough to enforce your boundaries. It tells her that you won't tolerate disrespect, not in public and not in private. This isn't about controlling her or manipulating her behavior. It's about enforcing the standards you set for yourself and the people around you. Respect, my friend, is not something that's earned through endurance or patience. It's not something that's negotiated through silence. It's not something you can let slide, thinking it'll be all right in the long run. Respect is enforced, and you must enforce it strongly, calmly, and consistently. The moment you let disrespect slide is the moment you start lowering your own value. To attract women and maintain the respect you deserve, you need to establish this boundary early and with confidence. You must show her that your masculine energy is anchored in self-respect. You must let her know that you're a high-value man, and your worth is not up for debate. The right woman will respect you for it, and the wrong one, well, she'll simply walk away. And that's exactly how it should be. You don't need someone who can't see your value. You need someone who understands that you're not just a provider, you're a leader. Be the man who upholds his boundaries. Be the man who understands that true respect is earned and enforced through actions, not silence. That is the key to long-term attraction, and it starts the moment you stop tolerating disrespect, no matter how small or subtle. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who could benefit. Stay tuned for more wisdom, and be sure to subscribe for future videos. Comment below to remember, I respect myself and I enforce my boundaries. Let that affirmation guide you in upholding your high value and attracting the respect you deserve. Number 3. Never make your time freely available just because you like her. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that showing interest in a woman means making yourself constantly available. But nothing could be further from the truth. When you rearrange your life to suit her whims, when you cancel your plans and shift your priorities just to be there when she calls, you're making a critical mistake that will cost you the relationship before it even begins. Availability does not equal interest. It equals a lack of structure, a lack of direction. Women don't evaluate you in isolation. They assess your life, your habits, your discipline, and your ability to maintain your own purpose. If your schedule is always open, if you have nothing but time to offer, she starts to question your value. It's not that she doesn't appreciate your attention, but when you drop everything at a moment's notice, you send a subconscious message. I have no purpose, no goals. My world revolves around you. Here's the truth. She wants to see a man who can hold his ground, who has a life that doesn't depend on her. It's the law of attraction at work. When a man prioritizes his time, when he makes sure that his commitments, his ambitions, his passions come first, he commands respect. A man with a clear direction in life is always more attractive than one who is at her beck and call. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about maintaining the integrity of your life. When you structure your time, when you make it clear that you have a purpose, she doesn't feel like just another option. She starts to see you as someone who is worthy of her time. Remember the Old Stoic wisdom. Life is about balance and self-discipline. Stoicism teaches us that our time is a precious resource. It's finite, it's valuable, and it should not be squandered. When you treat your time like currency, you elevate your status. Time isn't just something you give away because someone asks for it. It's a powerful tool that shapes how others perceive you. And in modern relationships, this is an essential part of the dynamic. A man who understands that his life has meaning and purpose is a man who will not only attract the right woman, but will also keep her. Think about the psychology of attraction. Scarcity creates value. When you're always available, you dilute your own worth. The absence of structure and purpose pushes women away faster than anything else. And the more you protect your time, the more you build anticipation. This doesn't mean you're playing games, it means you're demonstrating control over your life. It's about self respect, about showing that you value your own time and your own goals. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By saying no when necessary, you show maturity, self control, and confidence. You prove that your life is already on a path, that your world is not defined by her, but by your own direction. By mastering your time and setting boundaries, you show that you're a man who knows what he wants and is not willing to sacrifice his purpose for fleeting moments. Iron Mind. This is what it means to have the strength and discipline to protect your own foundation. It doesn't matter how much you like her, your value is in your ability to stand firm and live by your own rules. The strongest men are not the ones who give up everything for the woman they want. They are the ones who have mastered their own lives first. So, as you navigate the modern world of relationships, remember, don't make your time freely available just because you like her. Keep your structure, maintain your priorities, and she will start to see you as a man worth investing in. When you set these boundaries, you don't just protect your time, you protect your very worth. This is Stoicism in action. Win by staying anchored in your own purpose. Number 4. Never become her emotional dumping ground before she commits. Don't fall for the seductive trap of becoming her emotional dumping ground before there's a commitment. It feels like connection, but it's not. Early on, she'll share her past hurts, her family chaos, her ex's mistakes, the trauma she's been through, and you think, this is intimate. This is special. I must be different. But here's the truth. Emotional dumping is not intimacy, it's a test. She's not connecting with you on a deeper level. She's testing how much emotional labor you're willing to carry. And many men, unknowingly, volunteer for this job. You listen for hours, reassuring her, staying up late to calm her down, offering advice, absorbing her emotional weight. You become steady, reliable, the man she can count on. But here's the catch. You're no longer the man she desires. You're the man she stabilizes herself with. That shift is painful to see. Men often mistake emotional access for emotional bonding, thinking, she trusts me. But trust, without any real investment from her end, doesn't lead to attraction. It creates utility. You become a safe, reliable presence, but not someone she's truly invested in. The emotional energy you pour into her, hoping for deeper connection, is drained, while she turns to someone else for the excitement, curiosity, and unpredictability she craves. And no, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, but you've fallen into a trap. By taking on the role of therapist instead of a partner, you lost the very thing that sparked attraction. Here's the reality. Masculine polarity, the force that makes you attractive to her, dies the moment you become her emotional container too soon. When you start absorbing her emotional weight, mystery fades, tension disappears, and desire diminishes. You cannot talk your way out of this position once you're there. Once you're categorized as safe, that label sticks and it's hard to escape it. This boundary isn't about being cold or unfeeling, it's about pacing intimacy. When you absorb her emotional weight before she's committed to you, you're handing away your most powerful leverage, your mystery and your value. Emotional intimacy is powerful, but it must be mutual. It must be earned. Just like any currency, emotional closeness loses its value when it's given away freely without any investment in return. You might think you're doing the right thing by being there for her, by absorbing her pain, but the truth is, you're weakening the bond that could form. Men often confuse empathy with overextension. Empathy is fine, but overextension is dangerous. The mistake isn't listening, It's allowing her to dump her emotional chaos on you before she's even committed. When you do this, you shift the natural flow of bonding. She doesn't grow closer to the man who carries her emotional burdens. She grows closer to the man who invests in her, the one who makes her step up emotionally. That's the real foundation of attraction. How do you protect your masculine polarity and ensure that emotional intimacy builds naturally? By pacing it. Listen, acknowledge, stay grounded, but don't rush into problem-solving mode. Don't become her late-night crisis line. Don't let her emotional storms dictate who you are or how available you are. Healthy emotional pacing keeps the connection clean and allows her the opportunity to step forward emotionally. When she knows she has to invest, when she has to regulate herself, that's when attraction deepens. Now, many men fear pulling back emotionally, thinking it'll make them seem uncaring. But in reality, pulling back makes the connection clearer. It invites reciprocity. It shifts the dynamic. When you stop carrying her emotional baggage, she'll have to step up and contribute to the emotional connection. And that's the key. A woman bonds with the man she invests in emotionally, not the one who carries her emotional weight without question. It's that balance of effort that builds desire, not dependence. This boundary doesn't block intimacy, it preserves it. When intimacy is given too freely, too early, it doesn't create desire, it creates dependency. And dependence is the enemy of attraction. So remember, don't let yourself be her emotional anchor too soon. Let the connection unfold naturally and make sure it's based on mutual investment. That's how you ensure that the bond you share is both real and powerful, not just a temporary emotional lifeline. Number 5. Never panic when she pulls back. Don't panic when she pulls back. This is the moment most men unknowingly sabotage everything they've done right up to that point. Things were flowing well. The energy was right. The connection felt mutual, effortless. But then something changes. Her replies slow down, her warmth fades, her effort drops. And instead of staying grounded, you panic. That panic? It's instinctive. You sense the distance and assume something is wrong. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe you said something wrong. Maybe there's someone else. And before you know it, you start doing the one thing that's guaranteed to kill attraction. You try harder while she does less. It usually unfolds in 3 predictable ways. First, you try to fill the silence. She pulls back, and you rush to close the gap. More messages, quicker replies, extra check-ins. But what you're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable without your attention. When you do this, you signal that her absence makes you uneasy. And that discomfort is a turnoff. Second, you try to reassure her. You offer emotional availability on demand. You let her know you're there for anything. You become overly accommodating. But every word and gesture communicates fear. Fear of losing her. Fear that the connection is slipping away. And nothing kills attraction faster than showing that you're afraid of losing her. The moment you start behaving out of fear, you start losing your power. Third, you overcompensate. You plan more, compliment more, give more. You turn up the volume, hoping that your increased effort will restore what the distance has taken away. But that's not how attraction works. From a power dynamics perspective, the moment you increase your effort in response to her pulling back, the balance shifts. She holds the frame, and you're chasing it. Once that imbalance locks in, desire suffocates. A woman cannot miss a man who is constantly trying to close the gap. She can only miss what has space to disappear. If you're constantly chasing, she'll never have the opportunity to miss you. Pulling back is not always a test. Sometimes it's clarity forming. Sometimes it's interest fading. And sometimes it's simply life, busy schedules, personal issues, or a shift in priorities. But when you panic, every possible reason for her pullback becomes a catastrophe. And what do you lose? Leverage, attraction, self-respect. You end up diminishing your value as a high-value man by reacting out of fear. A high-value man knows how to maintain his own worth without begging for attention or constantly seeking reassurance. Attraction doesn't return because you try harder. It returns when there's space. And that's the paradox most men resist because it feels counterintuitive. You are taught that effort fixes problems. You are taught that persistence proves value, that if you just show up more, love will stabilize. But here's the truth: romantic attraction doesn't respond to effort, it responds to space. This is where understanding female psychology becomes key. Attraction grows when there's mystery, when there's room for her to wonder and reevaluate her feelings. Too much effort? It suffocates the very attraction you're trying to build. When you stop rewarding distance with more attention, one of two things will happen, both of which work in your favor. If she's genuinely interested, she will recalibrate. She'll notice the absence, the space you've given her, and her effort will rise to meet yours. The balance will return, not because you chased it, but because you gave it room to come back naturally. When you let her miss you, the connection will realign and deepen. This is the true power of masculine energy. A high value man understands that his energy is not to be overextended or given away too freely. Instead, it's an attractive force that only strengthens with the right amount of space. On the other hand, if she doesn't come back, then the truth was already there. Your boundary didn't cause the loss, it revealed it faster. That's the gift of space. It helps you see the reality of the situation without wasting time on someone who isn't equally invested. The right woman will come back when there's room for her to realize what she's missing. If she doesn't, then you've just saved yourself a lot of heartache by not chasing someone who wasn't ready to invest in you. Understand this: attraction is about balance. If you're constantly chasing her, you're giving away your masculine energy without any return. When you create space, you're actually attracting her to you. You're demonstrating that you are a high value man who doesn't need validation. You are a man who has his own life, his own goals, and his own boundaries. A man who attracts women without overextending himself. If you're constantly trying to close the emotional gap by sending more messages or offering more emotional availability, you're only reinforcing that you don't have a life outside of her. That's not the kind of man women are drawn to. Women are attracted to men who have their own passions, their own sense of purpose, and who don't rely on a woman's attention to validate their worth. When you allow space, when you stop filling the silence, you're showing that you are a high-value man who doesn't beg for attention. You're showing that you can take care of yourself emotionally, and you're not going to chase her energy when it fades. And that, in itself, is incredibly attractive. So, here's the bottom line: don't panic when she pulls back. Be patient, stay grounded, and give her the space to miss you. Whether she comes back or not, your self-respect and masculine energy remain intact. You're not the one who's chasing, you're the one who's worth chasing. And that's the key to attracting the right woman and maintaining the powerful, high-value man energy that makes you truly irresistible. Number 6. Don't sacrifice your own life for her attention. There's a crucial boundary that every man must establish from the very beginning of a relationship. Don't sacrifice your life, your goals, or your passions for her attention. This is a mistake many men make, and it weakens their position. The moment you prioritize her needs and desires over your own, you've begun to lose your value as a high-value man. Women are naturally attracted to men who have their own lives, their own ambitions, and a clear sense of purpose. The Old Stoic wisdom teaches us that a man must be centered in his own path. This isn't just philosophy, it's a psychological truth. When you rearrange your life to please her or desperately seek her approval, you send the signal that your worth is dependent on her validation. This kind of behavior is not attractive, and over time, it will erode the dynamic of the relationship. As the famous quote from the great philosopher Seneca reminds us, a man is not good for anything if he is not master of himself. Attraction, true attraction, is built on the foundation of mystery and the balance of two individuals bringing their own lives, their own passions to the table. If you're always available, dropping everything just to meet her needs, you become predictable. The energy you once had will diminish, and with it, so will her respect and interest. Women value men who lead their own lives with passion, not men who are constantly rearranging theirs to fit her schedule. You're not just a placeholder in her life, you're a force in your own right. Living with purpose isn't about rejecting your partner, it's about maintaining your essence while fostering a relationship that complements your individual journey. The Stoicism win is in the strength of a man who stands firm in his own life, even as he enters a relationship. Iron mind. To let go of your hobbies, your career, or your friendships in order to accommodate someone else's needs will only diminish your strength, your value, and your ability to attract a woman who values you for the man you truly are. The Old Stoic wisdom teaches us the importance of balance. A high value man isn't someone who chases attention or approval. Instead, he commands it with his energy, his focus, and his unwavering commitment to his path. Every man must understand this. If you live your life just to be available for her, you make yourself less valuable. You'll stop being someone who attracts, and instead, you'll become someone who is merely there. Women are drawn to men who are confident, independent, and purposeful. By placing yourself on a pedestal for her attention, you make yourself predictable and uninteresting. The more you rearrange your schedule to accommodate her, the more she will begin to see you not as a man with his own life and goals, but as a man whose life revolves around her. That's when the power balance shifts. As you set these boundaries, you must remember that masculine energy thrives when a man stays true to his own path, not relying on a woman to define him. This is where your real strength lies. Your value comes from the fact that you don't need to constantly adjust your life to win her approval. Instead, you remain grounded in your own life, full of purpose and direction, which makes you more attractive to her. The key to attraction is not in how available you are, but in how focused and centered you remain. By respecting your own time, energy, and ambitions, you will naturally attract the kind of woman who values you for who you truly are, not just for how much of your time you're willing to give up for her. This is the power of setting boundaries early. It's the power of a man who has mastered his own mind and life. And remember, the Stoicism win doesn't come from giving up your life for someone else's approval. It comes from standing firm in who you are and knowing your own worth. So, stop making sacrifices that only diminish you. Don't allow yourself to become a man who is defined by his willingness to constantly cater to someone else. Instead, be the man who commands attention through his energy and commitment to his own life. With an iron mind, a clear sense of purpose, and the wisdom to set these boundaries early, you will position yourself as the high-value man who attracts the right kind of respect, admiration, and love. All right, guys, that's it for today. What you've just learned isn't just a random set of dating tips. It's a system. 6 boundaries, 1 clear framework, all with one purpose: to protect your value before someone else decides what it's worth. These boundaries aren't about controlling women or manipulating anyone. And they definitely aren't about turning cold or disconnected. They exist for one reason only: to make sure you don't lose yourself while trying to please someone else. When you control financial access, you protect your leverage. When you shut down disrespect early, you protect your dignity. When you guard your time, you protect your direction. When you pace emotional intimacy, you protect polarity. And when you stop chasing withdrawal, you protect your self-respect. These boundaries together create a filter, a system that attracts the right person and keeps out the wrong ones. The reality is this: women who are drawn to structure, strength, and self-control will feel safer with you. The women who only felt comfortable when you were overgiving, overavailable, and overinvested, they'll quietly disappear. But don't mistake that for loneliness. What you're left with is clarity. Boundaries don't make you harder to love. They make it possible for the right person to love you for who you actually are, not the version of you that sacrifices himself just to be tolerated. And here's the most important thing I want you to take away: you don't gain power by demanding more from women. You gain power by requiring more from yourself. It's about self-respect, self-control, and knowing that you are worth more than just being someone's backup plan or emotional support. By setting these boundaries, you are showing the world you're a man who values himself, and that's what attracts the right kind of person. If you found value in this, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more content like this. This channel is built for men who are done being confused, drained, and second-guessing their worth. Like the video, share it with a friend who's always overgiving and getting less in return, and leave a comment. I want to know which boundary hit you the hardest, or maybe which one you need to work on the most. This channel isn't here to just comfort you, it's here to challenge you. It's here to keep you from losing yourself in relationships and to help you stand firm in who you really are. You don't need to shrink to make someone else feel comfortable. You need to grow to make sure you're the best version of yourself. And when you do that, the right woman will see that, respect it, and choose you for exactly who you are. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and I'll see you next time.